Hello and welcome to The Powerful Pregnancy. My name is Jane Wake and I'm creator of this program. I'm a fitness expert and I have over 15 years experience in the pre and postnatal field. Now today's Pilates workout is specifically for you if you are struggling to find that pelvic floor area, and that happens to a lot of us. It's really, really common. So we will take a lot of time and care and attention in this class. Now you can use this class in your first trimester, second trimester or third trimester. It's suitable for all trimesters. Now make sure you've got a mat. You're going to need some kind of cushions or rolled up towels to help support you, like we use the blocks in the class. Make sure in some comfy clothing. You don't need any shoes, but you do need some water to hand. And if you've got those things, we're set and ready to go. Hello, good morning. It's a really lovely sunny morning here this morning. I'm here with Aditi. Hello, Aditi, okay? So we're going to do a session now which is Pilates based, and it's going to be very much about the pelvic floor. Now I know this is something that Aditi has concerns about, and that is when you are exercising, when is it that you're actually supposed to feel your pelvic floor, and can you feel your pelvic floor? Or if you have any issues, just really trying to feel it, because I know we've got our pelvic floor videos and our pelvic floor workouts and our master classes, but that's just focusing on the pelvic floor. When you have to do other things as well, it's a lot harder, isn't it? So Diti and I have just had a conversation about that, and the fact that it would be really useful in this session to have that little bit of a focus about where it is, when you should be feeling it during different types of exercises, and when you should be connecting to it the most as well. I think is really important to establish. Now Aditi has one little baby already, so one son, and after that birth she did have issues with her pelvic floor, and that's why for you I think it's probably a little bit harder than it is maybe for some of you to be able to find the pelvic floor. So if this is your first pregnancy, you're probably finding it a little bit easier to find your pelvic floor than maybe Aditi is, but that's not always the case. It could be your first pregnancy and you are struggling to find it, or it could be your second, your third, your fourth, your fifth, and you are struggling to find your pelvic floor. So that's why we're going to focus on that right now and do this just very much a Pilates based session, and we'll take about 15 minutes to do this session. Now the first thing is, often we cannot feel the pelvic floor because there's too much else and too much other muscle control going on, and often that's to do with an imbalance of muscles in the body. So we're going to start off with our rocking the baby, which is what we often do. So we're just turning the foot in. Now we have the pelvic floor, which are the muscles that are on the bottom that run from your tailbone, your coccyx at the back, to your pubic bone at the front. Now this is the pelvic floor. Now to the back of the pelvis we have what we call the pelvic wall. So these are the muscles that are at the back of the pelvis and go from the pelvic floor along the side of the spine and up through the hip joint. Okay, now these muscles rotate. So if we do our rocking the baby and we turn our foot right in, we are rotating in the hip joint and we are moving the pelvic wall, these muscles that attach to your tailbone, to the sides of the tailbone and through to your hip. Now when these muscles are tight, it's often harder for us to feel the pelvic floor because often we feel these muscles and not the pelvic floor. So the first thing I want you to think about doing when you're trying to kind of feel that connection to your deep core is to think about releasing. You know, often we're thinking about trying to pull everything up, to feel it, to contract it, but sometimes actually it's about releasing in order to feel something. So this is helping to release the deep muscles in the pelvis that help to rotate our hips, which is why we're doing that inward rotation. Now if we do that a couple more times and then come to a standstill, we're just going to now see if we can feel and connect to our pelvic floor. Now we know that when we connect through the feet, it helps us to connect to our pelvic floor. Now you are going to be anywhere between 19 to 23 weeks in your pregnancy. This is when the hormone relaxin starts to surge into the body and it makes our joints loosen up. The feet are affected as much as anywhere else, if not more so, because there are more joints in your feet than there are in other parts of your body. So we're going to pull up through the arches of the feet. So press through the inside of the ball of the foot, from the heel to the ball of the foot. Think of drawing up as if you're gathering your mat up underneath your feet, creating an arch in your foot. Relax it, let the toes spread and go, and then do that again. Press through the inside of the ball of the foot. Try to draw up through the arches of the feet. Your toes will scrunch in a little bit, but they shouldn't be curling under, and the inside of the ball of your foot should stay on your mat. Relax the feet one more time. We'll do that again, and then this next one we're going to try and connect that feeling to the pelvic floor. So take a breath, inhale, exhale for me. We want to relax the breath, then press through the inside of the balls of the feet, draw up the arch of the foot. Now I want you to do that scoop up from the back of the pelvic floor and into your belly. And we're just doing this as a test to see if we can feel that right now. Can you feel that, Aditi? Is that a strong feeling or not very strong? Okay, yeah, in the back. Okay, so Aditi's struggling to feel it so much from the back of the pelvic floor, but she can feel her tummy coming in. So let's all put our hands underneath our bumps and just hold there. Now take another breath for me. Inhale, exhale, relax. And then draw up through the arches of the feet and do that scoop up from the back of the pelvic floor. So it's that stop a fart feeling, and then lift up and into the belly. So do you feel your belly coming in? Can you feel the back of the pelvic floor more now? Yeah? Okay. So sometimes touch can really be useful to us. So just placing your hands onto your belly, feeling your belly coming away, and getting that connection from the pelvic floor into the tummy, that kind of scoop up. So remember what I say about that feeling. Imagine you've got a little skier on the inside of your tailbone, and they're skiing off the end of your tailbone and coming off and up and into your tummy, and that's the kind of connection that you want to feel. What we're going to do now, though, is start to get the body moving, and we're going to come forward on our mats just a little bit, and we're going to start to try and extend the legs. So we're going to peel the right foot off the floor. You're going to try and engage your pelvic floor, and we're just going to take the foot out in front and just rotate the ankle around. Let's get the ankle and the feet moving, and then go back the other way. And then I want you to take the leg back behind, not to focus too much on balance in this session, but more to extend your leg and open your hip at the front. Put your hands underneath your bump and lift your belly and squeeze your right buttock. Let's do that on the other side. So now press through the inside of the ball of the right foot, come up through the arch, lift up through your pelvic floor, and just rotate your left foot around a couple of times each way, releasing through your ankle joints, keeping the circulation going. Now take the leg back behind and just really extend your leg behind, but very importantly, do that scoop up. Think of your little skier. And what I'm going to check on Aditi here is that as she does that, her back doesn't arch through here. So she's got a nice neutral curve in her back, but she's not, and if I do it wrong, so Aditi's doing it beautifully, but if I do it wrong, you don't want to over arch your back. You're not really pushing your tummy forward. So you're lifting through your core and controlling that movement. Let's just do a leg back with the right leg again, but think again all through your posture cues, drawing up through your feet. Think of your head position as well, keeping your chin in, peel the foot up off the floor, and we'll do it a little bit more quickly now. We're going to reach, but this time we're going to extend the opposite arm up, squeeze into the buttock, but do that scoop up from the back of your pelvic floor and into your belly, and then change, peel the left foot off the floor, rotate the ankle around, and then take the leg back behind. Breathe, inhale, exhale, and extend, work the shoulder blades down, keep that chin in, lift up from the back of the pelvic floor and into your belly. Now we're going to take the right leg back again, but this time we're going to take the right heel down to the floor. So we're going to go into a calf stretch position, and then we're going to lift and lower through the right calf. Now, one of the reasons, and again, we've done this in lots of other classes as well, but we're just having that focus now in on the pelvic floor. One of the reasons I like you to do this is because when you're lifting and lowering for your heel, what can often happen is the heel turns in. Now, when that heel turns in, the hips are rotating, and that impacts on those deep hip rotators, which can get very tight, and that also will impact on your pelvic floor. So that turning of the foot out, making sure that the heel isn't turning in, so turning your foot out, aligning your hips. Imagine your hip bones are like headlamps of a car, and they're shining directly forward. You're keeping your hips nice and square, and as you lift and lower through your foot, you want to see if you can feel a little bit of core connection. Now, talking about when should you feel your pelvic floor, when you come up onto your toe, just try and feel your pelvic floor. Does that make sense? Yeah? Can you do that? Good question. So Aditi's asking where should her breathing be as she's doing this? Because this is quite a quick movement and we're not stressing or straining the body, just breathe naturally. Yeah? So your pelvic floor is working all the time. Yeah, it's the varying levels of degrees of contraction of the pelvic floor as to how strongly it's having to work. When you lift and you load and you push and you pull and you press down and bear weight, or if you say you've been walking for a long length of time, that creates pressure on the pelvic floor. Yeah, weight and load creates pressure on the pelvic floor. So those are the times when you need more pelvic floor control, and that's where you probably need to emphasize your breathing so you get more movement in your pelvic floor. When you're doing gentle kind of rocking type movements, just breathe naturally and just see if you can feel a little bit of core connection. Okay, and do that at home and have a think about whether you can feel your pelvic floor. And as I was saying, the easiest point to feel it when you're doing this movement is when you're coming up onto your toe, onto your tip toe. Yeah, okay, so let's change and do that on the other side. Now, we're keeping the body moving. I'm not doing held stretches, and that's important because what we're talking about at the moment is trying to release tension. And we're warming the body up and we're keeping the body moving because this is how you can release muscle tension. Often we try to pull and stretch and lengthen the body, which is great, but if the body isn't in the right mindset for that, often that doesn't work because you need to be very relaxed, you need to be very warm, and you need to be really focused. However, these kind of movements do really work because it's gently releasing the body. And I go back to our rocking the baby movement, which we're going to do again in a second, and just think about this logically. If we go back into that now, let's just do a couple more rocks on the left side because we did loads on the right. And again, Aditi, just make sure your heel isn't turning in. That's it. Yeah, well done. And you can put your hands underneath your bump and just squeeze up into your buttock as you come forward. Lift up through. It's good. But if we go back into our rocking the baby and just think of why we rock, yeah, and why we do that. It's sensual and we do it to calm babies, yeah? And we can do it to ourselves as well, and it's actually a way to relax and release tension. So that's why we're doing what we're doing, and it's something in pregnancy I think is really valuable to you. You know, if you're just standing at a bus stop, don't stand still, rock. You know, it's a really good thing to do. And I don't know if some of you have done the class that we filmed last week, which will be the previous one to the one in the series to this one. Kirsten was having real issues standing still, and it's all to do with her blood pressure. She's fine, by the way. She's not here because she's on holiday. And that's because she can't stand still for too longer length of time. So that's why these rocking movements are really good for us to be doing. Okay, what we want to do now is take some more tension away from our body. So we're now actually going to come down towards the floor to do that. So what we're going to do is think about how we get down to the floor and how that impacts on our pelvic floor. So we need to come down to the floor. So what I'm going to ask Aditi to do is to go back onto the ball of her right foot, and we're going to use some of our lifting and lowering techniques that we've already learned through the classes. And there is a master class on how to lift and lower. You make sure you watch that. And I want you to think about when you need to contract your pelvic floor. Now we're going to lower down to the floor, which can cause a lot of pressure on the pelvic floor. If you are carrying a heavy weight, if you are carrying more weight, then that's going to make it harder as well. And this is why it's so important to have that connection to the pelvic floor at the right point. The point at which you want to connect is as you lower down. So come up nice and tall and take a breath. And we're going to do a big movement. So we need to take a breath. Inhale, exhale. Lift up through the pelvic floor and then lower down. Okay, so you want to have that lift up for the pelvic floor right at the beginning of your movement. Now we're going to come down onto our hands and knees, and if you can see our backs in this position, we need to make sure that we're not really dipping our backs in the middle. So I'm doing it incorrectly at the moment. I'm really pushing my bottom out and getting a big arch in my lower back. So you just want a soft arch in your lower back, and one of the ways again, to help release is just to, I think of this as a happy dog wagging its tail. So you just allow your bottom to just wag a little bit from side to side. And that, again, will help to release a bit of tension. But it will also put your bottom into the right position. Now, in this position, you want to tuck your elbows in. Work your shoulder blades down, and interesting, you've got quite hypermobile joints there. I just saw that on your arms. So Aditi can really extend her arms. So we want to be conscious and careful of that. And that might be also another reason why you find it harder to feel your pelvic floor sometimes, because if your joints are very lax, then that's going to make it harder for you as well. So it gets a little bit more concentration for you than maybe for other people. So again, this is where everyone is different. Now I'm going to ask Aditi to bring her body weight forward. Now this is quite hard. Tuck the elbows in and just work the shoulder blades down. Now she's really working her upper body in this position, and you can do the same thing. And when you're doing this, you now need to really connect to your pelvic floor. So I want Aditi to do that in this position. So lift up through the pelvic floor and into your belly, but keeping your back in the same line. Can you feel it? Yeah, good. Is this easier than standing or harder? Okay, so Aditi can find this easier to feel her pelvic floor in this position. If you find this position better for you, then you know this is a good position for you to be in. What we need to do now, though, is keep the body moving, keep releasing tension. So what we're going to do is just gently rock forwards and backwards. And one of the reasons why this is important is because you may find that your wrists start to hurt. Now, there's lots of different ways you can do this. You can come up onto your knuckles. You can put blocks or cushions underneath your hands. So if I grab a couple of blocks here, I can do it like this, yeah, or like this. And that can really help. So just find a position that works for you. Another position is to do what I call sprinter start as well, where you spread your fingers, if that works for you. Okay, now what we're going to do is go in circles. So Aditi, I want you to think of a clock face, and we're going to go in a clockwise direction from the right hand to the right knee to the left knee to the left hand, and just circle around. But what I want you to do as you're circling around is think about your core connection. So try to lift up through your pelvic floor. Can you feel it?
I can, but I can't keep it held in.
Yeah, good. Okay. So Aditi's saying that she can feel her pelvic floor, but she can't maintain it all the way through. So this is one of the things that you want to think about. The load and the pressure on your pelvic floor in different situations. When you are standing, it's harder to feel because there's more pressure. When you're in this position, there's a little less pressure, so it doesn't matter so much how much you're feeling it. So when you are standing, if you load, then you're going to put more pressure on your pelvic floor. So you want to try to connect to it as much as you can. And if you're struggling, you know that means you need to do lots of isolated pelvic floor exercises so that when you are standing, you do feel you can control your pelvic floor. But here is a great way to actually do some lighter connection to the pelvic floor. And it's fine if you only feel it at certain points, because you know you're not going to put undue pressure on your pelvic floor. So just feeling it at certain points is absolutely fine. It's also, bearing in mind, a good position to relax in. Let's go the other way. So just now do your circles. So hopefully you're doing this at home as well. Just go the other way. Remember, you can change the position of your hands. And again, just try to connect to your pelvic floor. And also, as you connect your pelvic floor, you should be feeling your tummy coming in and drawing in as well. And that should be like this. There should be a connection between the two. So it's just a nice, gentle movement. But what you can also do in these positions is safely relax the pelvic floor. Because you know that there's not a huge amount of pressure on it, it's a good way to relax the pelvic floor. So we're just going to take I'm going to take those blocks out of the way, and we're just going to go into what we call that puppy dog position and just relax back. And if you can't, rest your forehead on the floor. Again, get some cushions or something to put underneath your forehead. Are you okay in that position, Aditi? Yeah? Okay, one of the things that I'm going to ask Aditi to do, though, is to take her bottom up a little bit. So lift the bottom up and then drop down. And what that does is it releases the tension in the pelvis a little bit more. Can you feel that? Yeah. It should feel nice. So any of these positions should feel really nice to be in. Yep. So if you're doing anything like this, you should feel like it's comfortable and relaxed. Now, in this position, we're helping to release tension again in those muscles that tighten around the hip. But they work at different angles. So what we're going to do is do this position, but with our legs in different angles. So I'm going to ask Aditi to come up, and then we're going to cross our right foot over the back of our left foot, and you can do the same thing. So just cross your foot over. We're going to take our hands over to the left, and we're going to sink back, bottom up, but this time pushing into the right hip. And if your hips are tight, you will feel a stretch. Now, you feel that? Yeah. Now, if your hips aren't tight, you're not going to feel a stretch, but it should feel nice anyway. And you're also going to stretch down the side of your back. Obviously, the more you push to the right, the more you will feel that stretch. So it's just a really nice way to release tension. And then we're going to lift up and we're going to try it on the other side. So you're going to cross your left over your right, and then you're going to sit your weight back to the other side. And again, just pushing your hips out to the side and releasing tension. Now, I mentioned about the fact that sometimes just stretching doesn't actually release. But if you can kind of move into a position and repeat it, it does work, but you have to really relax and breathe with it. So let's focus on our breath now. Inhaling and exhaling. Try to breathe through your nose if you can. That helps to oxygenate the body in a better way, and it helps to really release tension in the body. So you breathe in through the nose and you exhale through the nose. So another way to really home in on whether you can feel the pelvic floor is to focus on breath. Breath helps you to connect to it, but breath also helps you to release tension in the pelvic floor as well. So working the pelvic floor is not just about trying to contract it. You want to feel it contract, but you also want to feel it let go, okay? So we're going to do another movement, and I'm going to give a DT a block, and we're going to put it underneath our left knee behind us and bring the right knee up in front. And what we're going to do is just rock from side to side. So we're going to push to the right and then push to the left. And as we're doing this, we're just releasing tension again in the hips. And it should feel really nice. And if anything doesn't feel right, just adjust your positioning a little bit. Now we're in a very up position, and that stops putting too much pressure on the knee. If you want a deeper stretch, and if your bump will allow, you can come lower to the floor. So I'm doing a lower position. So just play around with it and just feel length. Now we're just rocking, again, trying to release tension, but let's just hold to the right. And think of hitching your hip up to the right, and you should feel more of a stretch. Yeah, you got it? Okay, now if you look at our bodies, we're actually in slightly different positions, but we've both found the stretch for us. And that's important because you've got so many different muscles going through the hips, and they're going to be tight in different places. Now, obviously, because you have the hormone relaxin in your body, it's easier often for you to stretch. And that's why, again, you stretch, but you think and you feel it through. It's got to feel right. It's got to feel good. All the while, just think about a little bit of abdominal control, and just think about finding your pelvic floor. At this point, you're not trying to really lift it up. You're just trying to think about whether it's there. It's just, can I feel it? In the same way you can feel a little bit of tension in your bicep, and you can pull your bicep up. Just, is it there? You're not trying to contract it. Just, is it there? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Yeah? Okay, and then let's just hold this way and push your left hip in towards the floor. Now this gives you a lovely length through the front of the pelvis, but this also will have an impact on your pelvic floor because the muscle you're stretching and lengthening now is called the psoas, and it goes through from the spine through the hip, and it will go very close to your pelvic floor. So again, if there is tightness in that area, it will have an impact. Okay, and then we're going to change and do the other side. So bring the left knee up and then rock side to side. Now often what happens is it feels different from one side to the other. Yeah? And do you feel tighter on this side or easier? Okay. So we're doing all these moves as one workout, and you could do them all together, but you might find that there's one that particularly works for you and you can do it on its own. And that's where the masterclasses come in. These are all in different masterclasses. This movement I know is definitely in one of our masterclasses. So this is a hip release. And then again, you can hold it out to the side. Find where you need to stretch. And just hold it there. Breathe it through. And then change, take it to another position. And then we're going to come up and release. And I think we're just going to do the other stretch on the other side. So we're going to cross the left leg over in front of the right. And then we're going to take the hands over to the right and sink our hips over to the left. Now breathe, inhale, exhale, and just relax into it. and then come back up. Now we're going to grab our blocks. So you can do this at home with books, or you can just kneel. You don't have to do this, but the advantage of doing this is that it takes pressure off your knees and it helps you to sit right onto your pelvic floor. Now we've done quite a bit of releasing of tension through the legs and the hips. So I'm hoping now that gives you a better sense of where your pelvic floor is. So one of the issues that Aditi's been saying is that she can feel the pelvic floor really well at the beginning of the day, but when it gets to the end of the day, she's really struggling. So if you are in that same situation, you need to do your pelvic floor lifts. Again, we've got our pelvic floor workouts. There's a 5-minute and there's a 10-minute workout. You need to be doing this every single day. You can't necessarily always watch the workouts, but you can do a few minutes here and there, whether it's on the bus, on the way to work, sat in the car, on the train, wherever you are, just try to do some of these pelvic floor lifts. What we need to get to, and we're just going to focus on this because this is all about feeling the pelvic floor strongly. What we need to get to when we're practicing exercises is that 5th floor, that real deep connection. That's how you're going to make your pelvic floor stronger, folks. So this is for you if you're really struggling to maintain strength throughout the day. So we're going to try that now. So nice big breath, inhale. Exhale, relax. Just feel the pelvic floor relax and just breathe and relax. Feel your sit bones. You want to be sat on your sit bones. So get a pile of books. You can put a towel on the top so it's a little bit more comfortable to sit on. And then just think about where those sit bones are. So know that your pelvic floor is up on the inside of those sit bones. And you're trying to contract from the back to the front, but you're also trying to lift those sit bones up and in as well. So take a nice big deep breath for me. Again, inhale, exhale. But this time you're going to stop from your back passage to your front and think of drawing up and in and up inside you, and you're going to come up and up and up and up and up, and then let it drop back down. Can you feel the last up? Not. Yeah. Yes.
Just to feel that.
Yeah. So
That's right.
yeah, no. So Aditi's saying she feels other muscles pulling in just to get that lift up to the top. So this is where the release of muscles is really important, but also where your mind is really important. And I'm really glad Aditi has said that, because this is where I want you all to really apply your mind to that visual of the muscle lifting up, and it's very much an internal feeling. So what I want you to do now is think of those sit bones that you're sitting on, and you're going to go up inside and visualize your spine going up through the center of your body. So the muscles that you are using are going to pull in and connect, and it's like a sponge going around your spine and protecting your spine. So it's very deep and on the inside of your body. And I want you to take a breath, and Aditi's going to focus on the muscles that tend to tense when you try to use your pelvic floor. And I want you to do the same. When you pull up for your pelvic floor, what else do you feel tensing? It might be that you're screwing up your eyes. It might be that your shoulders go up. It might be that your toes scrunch. Whatever it is, I want you to breathe out and relax that part of your body first, and then think of this central force lifting up through your center, through your spine. So take a breath, inhale. Exhale, relax. Pull up through the center, but let those external muscles go. So let the legs go and relax. Lift up internally. Breathe out, relax. And then do that again. Take a breath in. Exhale. Let your thighs go. Let your toes go. Let your shoulders go. Lift up through your center internally, right up on the inside of those sit bones, feeling a controlling, deep sensation on the inside of your body. And then let it go and relax. Is that helping?
It helps to be a lot more conscious of everything.
Yes, yeah. So we're going to finish this video there, but be conscious, and that's exactly what Aditi just said. It really helps to be conscious of those feelings. And if you're still struggling, It's repetition is the master of skill. You have to keep coming back to this. So if you found this video useful, come back to it whenever you can and keep doing it, and I promise you it will start to work for you too. So your key things to take away are breath, relax, get rid of tension, rock, move, release tension, keep the body moving, and then have that mind focus. Get that visual of the pelvic floor lifting up through the center of your body, and kind of, it's almost like it's lifting up through your center and out through the top of your head. So you're getting that lifted feeling. And one of my favorite sayings of all, if I've said this before, and it's imagine a rocket going up through your fanny and out through the top of your head. That's literally what you're trying to feel, yeah? And it's that sensation. So we'll do it one more time and then we'll finish. So take a breath, inhale, exhale, relax. And then stop from the back, stop from the front, draw those feelings in together and keep lifting that rocket up and 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 out through the top of your head. And then relax. Well done. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Remember to comment on it and to like it. Let us know how you're getting on and feedback to us. Hello, I hope you enjoyed the workout, and if you did enjoy it, please do subscribe to the channel and like, and very importantly, comment below the workout. How did you find it? Could you find your pelvic floor? Did you have questions like Aditi did throughout the class? Please do put your questions to us. We will always look at them, we will always answer them, and we will always make new content specifically for you. So do comment, and we hope to see you again soon.